you follow this step, then you'll get to the outcome. When I first started my business, this was like the t-shirt that I would wear all the time, like grinding 24/7. And this was my services list. I just will do whatever it takes to make that first dollar. When we used to get a client, it was freaking chaos. It was like, I don't know what to do. I got to email this person. They want to start tomorrow, whatever. And we'd be like running around, like freaking out. We have everything in our brain. All we need to do is get what's in our brain into a system. But the reason I was going back to square one consistently over and over again was not because of them. It was because of me, actually. People don't just work for like paychecks. They work for purpose. Basically, what I want to talk about is the big problem in entrepreneurship these days. If I open up my Instagram account, I probably see things like, okay, you're going to become financially free if you just buy this course. You're good to go. Buy this, and we're going to make you rich, and you're going to have all this money, all this success inside of your business. And the problem is that when we buy these, which I've done, and you should buy courses, you should invest in coaching, we begin to work really hard. This is supposed to be a gift. He's typing really fast. And we make our first set of money in business, which is really exciting because we're starting this business. It's just me getting after it. And then what happens is we make our first $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month inside of our business, but we get to a point where we plateau. And we get to a point where we plateau and we get burnt out and we're fried and we're tapped because we only have so many hours in the day. And you also feel like you're on this hamster wheel and you're just spinning over and over and over again. And you feel like you want to cry and give up because you thought you were going to get financial freedom, which is what all these gurus are promising you. But you're on this hamster wheel and you feel like you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. Like, has anybody been there? I've 100% been there a bazillion times. So, but there's a solution, and what I want to talk about is really just like the transition from going from, being a glorified freelancer is what I call it, and just being like a glorified entrepreneur, but really you're creating a job for yourself, to building a business like a CEO would build a business. So, how to go from hustler to CEO in your business and add more revenue without adding more hours to your plate. Cool. Ready to get into it? Sweet. Nice. I like the energy. Cool. So I'm just going to share a few principles that I've learned after going from being a burnt out solopreneur, probably making $5,000, $10,000 a month, just doing it myself, to scaling our agency to multiple seven figures, multiple years in a row, having a team of 25, a studio as a marketing agency up in Seattle, big team, whatever, cool, 25-person W-2 employees, then hiring a CEO, exiting from the agency to now what Dr. Matt talks a lot about is scaling up our consulting agency, which is a consulting company mostly for agencies, so from marketing agencies, videographers, consultants a little bit, which will open up to eventually, to a $2.5 million run rate in less than literally a year and a half. We just opened the business pretty recently and just started scaling it, so it's doing pretty well, and we have a team of 17 from all around the globe. And 500 plus wins for results for the clients. So what is meaningful and adding value to consultants, coaches, agencies, all that sort of stuff. And then also spending time, being able to spend time with my wife, like run Ironmans. I did the Grand Canyon, rim to rim to rim, twice, which was really fun. Did 100K, which was really sick, like 12,000 feet of vert. Yeah, that's healthy, right? Maybe not for the joints, but it's all good. So, I'm the white David Goggins. Yeah, there we go. Nice, cool. It's good for the mind, Yeah. Cool. Are we ready to go? Cool. Nice. Wake up. So the first thing that I want to talk about the first thing that I really learned is CEO mindset, right? When I first started my business, this was like the t-shirt that I would wear all the time, like grinding 24/7. I took a lot of pride in how much of a grinder I was, right? This was my wall art at the time, just like hustle. I'm going to hustle all the time. And that's what I thought it was. Like, I would wake up, my alarm would be, I'm grinding while you're sleeping. I was just hype on just like the grind, because that's what I thought entrepreneurship was. I thought it was, I'm going to CEO. I have it in my Instagram handle. I'm like the cool guy now. And that's really what I thought owning a business was like, because that's what Instagram tells me and what everybody says is really cool. So that's what I'm going to live, eat, and breathe. And then, so my mindset really was, the more that I work, the more the business will grow, the more that I will work. And I had this ego about owning a business that the more I could do inside of my business, the more that the business is going to grow, which is completely the wrong mindset, because I got humbled because I realized 168. Does anybody know what 168 is? Hours in a week. There's so many hours in a week, and I was running out of hours in the week, and I realized I'm employed by 6 companies as a videographer and social media person, and there's really no way out. In addition, I broke up with my girlfriend at the time because I was so consumed in my work that I was like, Gary V mentality, that's all I wanted to listen to and do, that it led to us breaking up, which we did get back together, and she's now my wife. Actually had to ask her to be my girlfriend, and that's me asking her. So what I thought a CEO was 24/7, no days off, like hustler, like you got to be grinding all the time, whatever, like saying yes to everything, do whatever the client wants, and really I thought it was my identity. That's when I met my first mentor, Alan Anderson, and he came to my apartment in 2020 when it was literally just me, and he explained to me what a business was, which is a huge mindset shift. He told me that a business is really just a system, and he gave me the book E-Myth Revisited, and the real quote that stuck with me is that systems run the business and people run the systems. And then I started thinking, cool, when I think about companies like McDonald's, like how do they have $26 billion in revenue, 150,000 employees, 69 million customers daily? It's like they have a system that they just have their team operate. Has anybody seen the movie Founders? It's like, yeah, they put like, he's on the basketball court with like chalk, and they're like, okay, you do this, then you flip the burger, and then you do that, you do this. It's like, cool, he's just training somebody on a system so that they can handle the volume. But I was like, but where's me in this? Where's my identity in this? And that was really the big problem. So instead of looking at my business literally as my identity, I looked at it as a system that could run, because the more that I could run my system, the more that we were able to actually grow. So that was the first thing of the mindset. Okay. After I got into the mindset, it was all about offer. So I started my marketing agency actually from real estate. I know we got some real estate professionals in here. So I started in real estate when I was like 24 years old. I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to be a real estate agent. Like this is what I wanted to do. Was able to grow it through like content creation, posting videos, was on the news, all that sort of stuff. 30 under 30 in Seattle, cool. And I had a mentor, and he said to me, dude, you should do something in creative, because I was creating all this content for myself in real estate, and people kept asking me for help. I was selling houses from like just posting videos. And I was like, yeah, sounds way more fun than like showing houses. Like I was young, and I was like, dude, social media is cool. So that's what I did. I started to slowly transition. There's Ekman Construction. It's my guy, first client ever. Started doing content for people, and it led to like me starting this business, right? This is how I started. I was like, cool, this is sick, healthy. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do everything. And this was my services list, because I was like, dude, I'm grinding. I need to make that first $10,000 a month, that first $15,000 a month. And I would do anything. Drone videos, drone photos, pick your kids up from lunch. You want emails? You want photos tomorrow? It's like, that was my mindset. I was like, I just will do whatever it takes to make that first dollar, okay? Because I had that hustle mindset. And then we got to a point where I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to need a team to help me out with this, because there's only 168 hours in the day. And as we were saying yes to everything, I'd be like, yep, close the deal. The team would be pissed at me because I'm doing 20 different things for 20 different people, and there's no real scalable method to that. Does that make sense? Like you can't do drone, like just because I was good at this and I could do this doesn't mean it's scalable beyond myself, okay? So after repeating this over and over and over again, getting yelled at multiple times by my team, realizing we're just stuck and we're plateauing and it's just causing more frustration, I realized, okay, we need to figure out, okay, what is it that we actually do, which is our offer, okay? And what we need to really realize is that like our clients don't care about, like especially in like the marketing space, if you guys are online consulting or doing anything like that, they don't care about what you do, like the outputs, they care about the outcomes. They care about what it is that you can do. Alex Hormozy, if anybody knows him, he always says, sell the vacation. Like all we need to do is sell the vacation and where it is that we're actually going to get them. So home ownership, you could build your perfect custom house, whatever it could be. More leads in the consulting space. Your time back in Alex's case without adding more hours to your work, okay? And our job is just to figure out how we can help get our clients to their outcome. So we just make it really simple, and we like to think of our offer as something that's productized, right? Like McDonald's, okay, you do this, you draw the line, cool, you go here, you do all this. They have a productized system for it, but they're really clear on who is it that they're working with, what are the struggles that your customers have, so what are the 3 top pain points, what are the implications of those, hopefully financial. So if you're in consulting, for example, like you're struggling with debt, you're waking up in the middle of the night stressed out, you're worried about if you're gonna make your next payment and all that sort of stuff, okay? And then we need to figure out what is their desired outcome. You want to live debt-free, have an 850 credit score, like holy crap. Cool. Then all we have to do is we need to figure out how do we get our clients from where they are to where they want to go. Because there's probably about a bazillion different ways that you can do that, right? That you could, like in the agency space, you can do video, you can do email, you can do SEO, but we just need to figure out what is the step-by-step process that we can increase the perceived likelihood to the clients that they're actually going to get the results. So if you follow this step, then you do this, 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 then you'll get to the outcome. And this becomes our steps to desired outcome. That becomes our offer, which makes it really simple to fulfill, right? Because we're not reinventing the wheel every time. Because then after we have the steps, then we can look at the steps and we can think, cool, who could I plug in to work these steps? Because you don't want to do everything inside of your business. There's only 168 hours a week. We need to eventually get stuff off of our plate. And if we have a step-by-step process of getting our clients from where they are to where they want to go, all we need to do is plug people in to follow the step that we've defined. Is that making sense? Are we following? Okay, cool. And that becomes our offer, okay? And I think of our offer as like a product, like especially in a service-based business, which I think a lot of people are in. It's like your offer is your product. And that should just be like the one thing that you're really, really good at selling, that you can productize and that you can make repeatable, delegatable, scalable, and outcome-driven. Like that's what I think about. That's the foundation to actually scaling something. Because if it's not repeatable, you'll never be able to scale. If it's not delegatable, you're going to burn yourself out. If it's not scalable, you're not going to be able to scale beyond yourself. And if it's not outcome-driven, it's going to be really hard to sell. Cool. So yeah, so the mindset for me was really just going from how much work can I do because I'm the best at what I can do because I'm the best at sales and I'm going to do whatever the client wants to do because I will do anything for money, to how do I treat my business as like a product, my service as a product that can be repeated, build systems around, and actually build a team around it, okay? And that's really what took us from, this was our 2-bedroom apartment doing like $90,000 a year, to getting a studio doing around $2 million a year. So productized offer is really the first thing that has been super key. Okay, so the next thing is systems, okay? So again, I was in this mindset of I'm grinding, like I'm just hustling, I'm gonna do everything myself because I wanna do it. But the problem is I started juggling so many things. Like Dr. Mao was saying, he's spinning a lot of plates, and if one thing falls, then everything's gonna fall. And I was just grinding all the time, working, and I was burning myself to the ground because I didn't have systems in place. That was the big problem. What we really need to realize is that we have everything in our brain, especially as like a solopreneur, 1 or 2 people, like you're subconsciously doing something. All we need to do is get what's in our brain into a system and then have somebody follow it, okay? If we have the productized offer, if we have the step-by-step guide of like building a house, okay, you're gonna do this, then you do this, then you're gonna do this, then you're gonna do this, and this is what we follow. Cool. Now we have the foundation of building systems that we can plug in that somebody else can then follow. Does that make sense? So now all we have to do is create systems for each step of the process, which starts to build the foundation that will allow us to kind of step back in our business and not keep everything in my head and just do it because I can do it really well, but set the foundation for me to be able to train somebody, okay? That's him doing like the mind-blowing emoji. Okay, because what's going to happen is when you start hiring a team, your team is going to have a system of doing something if you hire somebody. And what you don't want them to do is to not have a system that you built, and then they build their own system and they create their own habit, and the habit is really bad. And it's really hard to unlearn that sort of stuff. So if we can get ahead of that, create a system, SOP, a process for them, train them on that, it's the system that's going to run the business, and the people will just run the system that you put into place. Does that make sense? So if we have the step-by-step process, we lay the foundation, we plug in systems, we plug in SOPs, trainings for each step, then we train our team on the system, we get them really good at the system that we've built out, that we know because we started our business likely because of our skill set, then we're training them on the best possible way to get to the outcome for the customer, and now your business can be foundationally set up to grow without you. Make sense? Cool. And like I said, systems run the business, people run the systems, okay? Couple of systems that I really like to use and that I think are paramount. Onboarding system. So basically, the moment a client says yes is the moment that they have buyer's remorse, okay? The moment they swipe their credit card, pay whatever, is the moment they say, shoot, should I have done that? I don't know, should I have done that? So when we used to get a client, it was freaking chaos when we would close a deal because it was like, I don't know what to do. I got to email this person. They want to start tomorrow, whatever. And we'd be like running around like freaking out, okay? So what we did is we completed or basically built out a 100% automated onboarding system. This is completely different for every single business, but The moment, like what we just need to realize what we need to solve for is the moment a client says yes, the moment they have buyer's remorse, what is our onboarding system, okay? Next is a fulfillment system. So if you're in the online space, like how do you keep track of all the tasks? How do you do all that sort of stuff? Like when I was first hiring like a video editor, for example, like I had no idea where they were in the process of anything, and I had no idea, like I had no project management system, I had no fulfillment system, projects were late, all that sort of stuff, because I was too busy to build systems. But if you're always too busy to build systems, you're always going to be too busy. So I was like, okay, cool, I need to really dial in my fulfillment system so that I can plug people into this fulfillment system so that I can keep track of everything. So because we have the step-by-step process, all we really need to do is use that step-by-step process and build a system around the step-by-step process. That's why the offer, the foundation is really important, because the whole business really stems from the offer and foundation. And we build systems of, okay, what are the steps of getting there? Okay, in addition, client acquisition system, hiring system, lead system, sales call system, literally everything that you do in your business should have a system. And if we want to scale beyond ourselves, we should just think, okay, how do I get this out of my head into paper, even though it might just be me or one person? How do I build systems so that I could train somebody on the system so that they can then follow the system? From like a practical tool system, whatever, I like Notion. There's also like ClickUp. There's Airtable. We use Airtable for like data. Asana is great. There's a lot of different tools out there. This is a video of like a pit crew. Like I think how good is probably the standard operating procedure or the system for the dude that's got to change this tire. Like imagine if he didn't have a system for doing that, how the car would go off and probably crash. Like same thing with our business. Like we want to have dialed in systems for each person because they're playing a big role in actually making sure that the car is successful, the car can leave and drive and absolutely crush. Make sense? Cool. All right, next thing is learning to delegate. Okay, it's a really hard thing to delegate. Who's struggled hiring somebody before? Super hard. There's like an art to it, which I'm still learning myself. So when I first started Strategic, like I was the guy who people were hiring, right? Like I thought, cool, clients are hiring me. So I did the editing, I did the shooting, I did the sales, I did graphic design, I did everything for the business. And then it goes back to this point where it's like, actually I'm employed by 6 people and I'm just a glorified freelancer and this is never going to be able to scale beyond myself because I was the bottleneck inside of the business. There was no way out. And I was like, okay, cool. What do I need to do? I need to hire somebody. I need to get something off my plate. I need to figure out how do I get this off of my plate so that I can begin to scale, so I can buy back some time, so that I can add more people, so that I can actually get more clients, all that sort of stuff. So my first hire, I hired a videographer editor, threw them in the deep end, only for them to leave 3 months later because it was chaos for them. That was my first experience hiring. So I went back to square one and I was like, shoot, I'm just gonna keep doing it myself. I'm just gonna like forget about this thing. And I was like, no, I'm gonna give this another shot. So I hired another person and they kept missing deadlines and were not representative of our brand. Shoot, back to square one. Like I'm just gonna do it myself. I'm just gonna be a glorified freelancer. Okay, no, try it again. Hired a social media manager. They were super non-communicative and I had no idea what they were doing all the time. Gosh, back to square one. They weren't a fit for our company. But the reason I was going back to square one consistently over and over again was not because of them, it was because of me actually. I wasn't setting them up for success, right? It wasn't they're not doing a good job, it was actually me not setting them up. So what I've realized is that I didn't put the work in and I had an ego before actually hiring. Because I think there's an art to hiring, to actually building someone up. Like we were able to get Mark from literally a social media manager to now the CEO of Strategic. And I've kind of, after hiring probably 60 people, kind of realized what to do and what not to do. So how do we do it? So when I was first working, this is like just an example, and you could do this for yourself. Like Dr. Matt was talking about start-stop lists. It's like we should all have a start-stop list for what you're doing throughout your days. Cool. Here's my list. I'm gonna say, cool, I'm gonna stop doing project management, client messages, and outreach. And this equates to 52 hours, let's call it, okay? Because we all probably work more than 40 hours if we're just starting our business and getting going. So then I look at my list of fulfillment, okay, cool. If I want to get client messages, project management, content, and outreach off of my plate to buy back some hours, that would be what, 40 hours, so that I can focus on more of the business activities like sales and stuff. Cool. First things that I really need to do is write a job description, which is super glamorous, by the way. It's probably the most like glamorous and fun thing to do, but Learning this was probably the most paramount in actually turning a team member into an asset to actually run the business for us. So when I say job description, we break it down into role, responsibilities, and smart expectations. So if I was hiring for these people, the role would be client management, project manager, content. Cool. Then what I would do is I would create the role, project manager, the responsibilities. Likely you're doing this now. So you write down everything that you're doing because you want to teach them the way that you're doing it. So if you're trying to hire your first person, you're doing the project management currently. How are you doing it? Turning that into a list of responsibilities. And then smart expectations, which is exactly how they're going to be measured. Because what we don't want to do is we don't want to hire somebody with no responsibilities, like no idea what they should actually be doing, and worse, no expectations of what success actually looks like in that role. Because if we hire them and you're like, oh, this is what you need to do, and there's no real KPI of what makes them successful, they're not going to have a goal, they're not going to be driven to work and thrive and actually do well at your company. Okay? Cool. So SOPs, and then we build systems for that person. So if we have project management, for example, if that's it, what is the project management system? Okay, what is the SOP, standard operating procedure, for those responsibilities so that we can actually set them up for success? Okay, we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And if we're hiring people, we just need to build systems for the person to work on so that they can just work the systems that we've already built. So this is James Clear, Atomic Habits. We don't rise to the level of our goals. If you're just telling them things, this is your goal, this is your goal, we fall to the level of our systems, which is what we're equipping them with. The checkboxes, the SOPs, the KPIs, all that sort of stuff, okay? Cool. The next is the KPIs, which is just you can't improve what you don't measure. I mean, I would put myself in the employee's shoes, like if you're gonna delegate, if you were gonna be hired by you, wouldn't you want to know what success actually looks like inside of your role? Probably. Because if you get hired by somebody, like you wanna know, okay, I wanna hit 90% of this, I wanna do I need to edit 2 videos a day. I need to do all of this sort of stuff. Like, what is it that we're tracking every single day? Which requires us to go back and build systems and SOPs and do a lot of groundwork so that this person is actually set for success. Okay, so we do SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-based. So what is the clear goal? Measurable, like what is the measurability of it? Like, is it actually attainable, time-based, or sorry, relevant to the actually responsibilities, and then time-based, like by when, essentially. So for every role, we have the responsibilities, and we have smart expectations for those responsibilities. So for project management, make sure project management board is completely filled out every single day. For video editor, edit 2 videos a day. Fill out your end of day form every single day. For a salesperson, make 25 outreaches every single day. Like that sort of stuff that you can start to be super measurable with, so that when the person comes in, they could literally just see their expectations and all they need to do is hit that. It's like we're training them on the design, because the design is gonna beat the willpower all day if we just set them up for success and they just follow what we're setting them up for. Make sense? Cool. And then the last thing is tools. Okay, like I always say, if you were to get employed by you, do you feel like you'd have everything you need in order to succeed? So when I hear CEO, I think of Chief Expectation Officer, actually. Like that's most of the roles. Like you're constantly setting expectations. And I think Chief Tool Provider, it's like your job is just to set the team up with tools so that they can actually crush and do well inside of their business or inside of their role. Otherwise, they're going to be on this island. They're going to be confused. They're not going to be set up for success. And that's not their fault. That's actually your fault. So once we have all of that dialed in, the systems, the KPIs, the tools in order to succeed, that's when I would actually hire and delegate. And it takes time. It's a lot of boring work, but it's the boring work that will actually get you ahead in delegating. And this is probably the most important thing that I've learned from like scaling and building teams is the art of hiring and delegating and doing it correctly. Because what we want to do is we want to decentralize command and we want to make other people set up for success. And how we do that starts really with us. Cool. This is supposed to be a post on Instagram. It's Dan Martell. Does everybody know Dan Martell? Cool. I'll try to remember the post. But basically the post is him asking another CEO, tell me everything that frustrates you about your team. Okay? And then the CEO goes on. He's like, oh yeah, they do this, they do this, they do this, they do this. And then Dan Martell says, cool, show me where you've trained them on how to not do all that sort of stuff. And then the CEOs are stumped, right? Because it's not the person that's frustrating them. It's actually the CEO that's not setting the people up for success and giving them trainings so that they can actually do well. So we have to just take ownership as CEOs and leaders and just really feed into our team, which is an investment in its whole, which is why recruiters make a lot of money and there's HR departments and all that sort of stuff. Cool. And then lastly, No Bad Teams, Only Bad Leaders. Great book, Jocko Willink, Extreme Ownership. A lot of principles, life principles around that. It's like, it's not the person's fault that they're sucking. If you think that they suck, it's our fault, right? It's like we need to take responsibility of the systems, KPIs, all the tools, essentially those core things. Cool. This is what took us literally, again, in our 2-bedroom apartment, just me, Peter, and Mark. And this was our Christmas card with a lot of people, W-2 employees, 7,000 square foot studio in Seattle, all that good stuff. Was the team. Mark and Peter were really running everything. So let it go. Okay, but we got to do it right. We don't want to rush this. Otherwise, we're going to go back to square one over and over and over again. It's just going to be a nightmare and then more expensive and more time from you. Okay, last point is just to be a leader. So when I first started my business, I was like, cool, I'm CEO. I can put that in my Instagram handle. Like I'm killing it. Like that's what I wanted to do, right? Because that's what we do when we start our first business. It's like a lot of pride, whatever, cool. But what I really was I was a control freak. I was a micromanager. I did everything myself. I got mad when people screwed up. I thought it was all about me. I had a high ego. Because that's what eventually we get to as business owners, because it's hard to let go. This is our baby. And what my management style was, I would really just put people in a box because I was like so controlling of, oh my gosh, you have to do it my way. You have to do it my way. Otherwise, like, you're not going to do it right. It's going to, like, the client's not going to like it, whatever. It was really tough. But really, I lacked leadership. I lacked empathy. I lacked a vision. I blamed everyone. I took control. I expected everyone to work as hard as me, which is just completely unrealistic to do. So, like, what I started to ask myself is, would I work for me? Like, would I be led by me? Like, those are the questions that as we started to build a team, and it became less about just the work that I was doing, that I was asking myself of how can I position myself to not be the bottleneck, but actually feed into these people and actually grow. So, the first principle, I guess, of leadership is vision. Like, one of the core things as I built a team was to always have a really strong vision. Because when we hire somebody, like, the first thing that they think about is not, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to scale this other person's business. That's not what they think about. They don't think, I'm so pumped to do the busy work that you don't want to do, right? No. What they're thinking about is what's in it for me. Okay, if we hire anybody, I don't care if it's a VA, I don't care if it's a co-founder or whatever, they're always just going to think, what's in it for me, what's in it for me, what's in it for me, what's in it for me. Anything that you say about the company, they're going to think, what's in it for me. If anybody has employees, they'll know that, because that's literally what it is. And what we realize, and what I've really understood, is that people don't just work for like paychecks, they work for purpose. Okay, so if we can cast a vision, not only for the company, but for the person in their role, then they're more willing to stay because they're bought into the vision. They're willing to work harder, they're willing to work more hours, be more bought in, which is what we want, right? We all know this great quote from a great book. Okay, and this is where I like to tell a story like Peter. So Peter was one of my first hires as a videographer, and he came in, he was filming weddings on weekends and would do like contract work. And I remember he came in, we couldn't afford him full time, but I was like, dude, Peter, like, you're really talented. This is after like 3 rounds of finding videographers. Like, Peter, you're really talented. Like, wish I could pay you full-time salary, but like, this is where we're going. This is like, we're eventually going to hopefully get a studio maybe one day. We're going to get more videographers, more video editors, all that sort of stuff. And he was willing to sacrifice his freelance business. He was willing to work for less money because he was bought into the vision. Because he stuck with the vision, he was able to go from professionally being literally a contract videographer to the creative director, overseeing 4 videographers and 6 video editors, because he was so bought into the vision. One thing that I always said to me was like, dude, I remember that conversation at the coffee shop when you were like, dude, one day you could be creative director and hire all these people. And it's like, wow, like, that gives me chills thinking about, because he tells me that 4 years later, when now he's in that role, because he had that vision and he was working towards that vision over and over again, and was willing to work long hours, build the studio, all that sort of stuff because of the vision. So if we can cast vision in anybody that we hire, I don't care if it's a VA, videographer, whoever you're hiring, then they'll be more bought in. Okay. Next is extreme ownership. So oftentimes when somebody does something wrong, we want to point, why did you deliver this late? How did you not do that? Why would you respond like that? And then we just get frustrated, okay? So instead, what we want to do is take extreme ownership. So one of the best books, in my opinion, from like a leadership perspective is anything by Jocko. So Dichotomy of Leadership, Extreme Ownership. If you guys haven't read those, highly recommend it. So once people stop making excuses, stop blaming others, and take ownership of everything in their lives, they're compelled to take action and solve their problems. So when I say things like, why did you deliver this project late? How did you not know to do that? Why would you respond like that? As a leader, we're pointing fingers, and that's not actually providing a solution to any sort of problem, right? Because it's just kind of blaming, pointing, etc. So what we really incorporated was extreme ownership. So how would we say, why did you deliver this project late with extreme ownership? Does anybody have a guess? Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. What can I do to help you deliver this project on time? And then now you're like, okay, cool. Do I need to build better tools? Do I need to build like a better training on this? All that sort of stuff. And then you improve 1% better because of that. How did you not know to do that? How can I better train you on our process so that you can learn this better? How can I create a better process so that we can train this better? Cool. Now you know. Now you just need to act on that. Why would you respond like that? What can I do to set you up for responses to crush it? Okay. And this leaked into our culture and really allowed us as a company to take extreme ownership and is just sharpening each other, us getting better, okay? And at the end of the day, any frustration is an unmet expectation. Has anybody heard that before? If you ever feel frustrated with someone, it's just because they're expecting something different than what you're expecting. This is not only a business principle, but a husband principle, a wife principle, a relationship principle. It's like if you're ever frustrated with somebody, it's just because you had an expectation and they had a different expectation. And if we can take extreme ownership and just realize that, then we can just be CEOs, chief expectation officers, to continue to set those expectations. Cool. Lastly, I'm just going to end with this, is empowering others. So like one of my favorite things is to be a gold digger as a business owner, right? And this is for VAs, this is for videographers, anybody that you're hiring, there's gold in them. And this is the best part of business ownership, is to find the gold in people and build them up. Okay. It's to see that this person could become something more than what they are right now. Like everybody at Braintegic, our CEO currently, he was a social media manager. And I was like, dude, I see gold in you. You could really build this up, all that sort of stuff. So we went through the process of building him up. He acted on it, obviously, and now is the CEO. Peter, as an example, was like, dude, I see gold in you. You can really crush it. You can hire multiple people, all that sort of stuff. Cool. So if we can find gold in people and really disciple them and build them up and build up your team, then that's when your team starts working the organization, which is really what we want them to be doing. Okay, because we're going to get to a point as we grow beyond 10 people, let's call it, where your most important client isn't the one that's paying you money. It's actually the one that you're paying. It's the people. Because if you can feed into your people, then they'll do really good for the people, for the clients, and that will allow you to grow without having to like worry too much about it. You just got to feed into the people who will feed into the clients. That's pretty much it. 178 slides. Let's go.